Welcome back, everyone, to the BasilTonic podcast. I'm your host for the show, Atomic Melodies. We got some good stuff from the Mint Potion collaboration combo today, where some of my friends worked together on original tunes. And we also have JosiahMusic joining us today for an interview. With that all out of the way, let's jump right into the first segment of the show, Community Review. Community Review is a segment where myself and a group of panelists will give feedback to tunes provided by the community. We have 5 tracks today, provided by my friends over at the Mint Potion Discord server. Joining me today will be Grinfox and Linkwaker. Would you like to introduce yourselves, guys?
Go ahead, Grinfox.
Oh no, the Canadian stereotype. Oh man, I'm a musician, and yeah, I can't think of anything else right now. You go.
All right. So hey guys, Linkwaker here. Basically, I'd consider myself like a music and art entrepreneur in its own sense. But yeah.
Great. Awesome. And
I'd actually like to clear out any things, any confusion. I'm Grinfox. Sorry I didn't say my name.
You're good?
I'm all good now.
All right. Sounds great. So, I guess with all that out of the way, we're going to start off with our first track of the day. So this is actually a remix of Zangief's theme by Dewey, and I believe this is done in the style of a 90s house tune. So we're just going to give this a listen and then give our thoughts. That was great, I thought. I really liked the bass line there. I thought it cut through pretty well and was pretty well mixed. You guys have any thoughts?
Yeah, I actually agree with the whole mixing part. Not only does it get the 90s theme right, but in that whole, mixing well part, I got flashbacks to the Marvel vs. Capcom 2 character select theme. Like, I want to take you for a ride.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I completely get where you're coming from. Yeah, I don't know. Dewey Newt he does really good work, I personally think, I've listened to a lot of his stuff since he joined the Discord, and just everything is really solid overall, I think.
Yeah, he's been like a semi-regular poster on Min Potions, right?
Yeah, I mean, he joined at basically the same time I did, which was 5 months ago now? 4 months ago?
All right, sure. I got you.
Yeah.
It's been that long, eh?
Yeah, I know, right? Time flies.
So what I have to say is, creatively, a little thing that I like to do with 90s house myself, this is just a personal thing, I like to layer a bit of a break underneath, like a sampled, not like a generic common break, but maybe a chopped up version of it, or a better break, for example, Hot Pants, which sounds really weird, but I'm a huge break aficionado. If you look up a bunch of different breaks, find which one ever you like, you can chop it up any way you want it. I just think it could use a bit more flavor if it was a 90s house tune, but that's just where I'm coming from personally.
I gotcha, and I'd kind of agree with that too. Now looking back at it, I think sort of with the break thing, the beat could have been, there could have been a bit more percussive samples and such in there.
Yeah,
elements
it definitely could have benefited. But in this case, sometimes people don't have that kind of inspiration just yet.
Yeah. True.
Well,
Alrighty.
Yeah, overall, again, Dewey Newt, pretty solid cover. And I guess we're going to move on. So our second track today is going to be a track by Jamothy. It's called Aria Forest. And this is actually a personal project of his. I think he told me it was him working on how to do sort of more orchestral tracks. And I guess let's just give this a listen here. That was another great track by Jamothy. He submitted one last week too, and this one, while being very different, I thought it was still pretty well done. I really liked the pan flute sample he had in there. It sounded really good against the background noise.
Yeah, on a related note, I'm wondering what VSTs he used, because those, well, I'm super used to using sound fonts, and those have a limited time amount and whatever else constraints they had. And those swells, orchestra swells, were so good.
Yeah, I know. I agree. Sorry, continue.
I felt that those orchestra swells, those string swells, could have been a bit more deliberately placed, unless you add like a decay after the attack. Unless you're building up to something specific. I feel like it kind of it wants me to think there's going to be a, so to say, for lack of a better term, drop or something, some sort of release for the build up,
like suspense of some sort, right?
Suspense of some sort, yeah. It kind of leaves you hanging there, but I guess it's an artistic choice. It's up to him, once again.
Yeah, definitely. That was actually going to be something I was going to touch on, too. I think the piece could have benefited a bit more if the strings, in light of a better word, flowed more into each other. I felt like they were sort of separated swells rather than flowing throughout the song. And I think it could have benefited from that. But definitely, Jamothy, I don't think you need to have this stuff privated. It's good enough that you can have it public, I think.
He has it private.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Really good.
It's really good, yeah.
It is. Like, those samples are top-notch. The arrangement of it is just... It's so peaceful. And it's like lathering yourself with shea butter in a forest of...
Exactly. Actually, have you guys ever played Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicle?
Oh, yes. That's one I've not gotten around to playing yet.
Yeah, it's basically like... It seems like it's in the field of that, where it's playful, but also not like super suspenseful, because it's all chibi and not. I got that from this.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Well, I guess with all that being said, we're going to move on to the third song of the day. So this song is actually a combined song, or a collaboration song, done by both Garion and Jamothy. And it was done for the compo we had a little bit back. And, yeah, I think it's called Ping Zone. That's what Garion put it in the chat, so I'm just going with that. Anyways, let's just give that a listen here. I thought that was excellent. You know, it's sort of interesting with these collaboration compos, or like the collaboration song pieces. I can definitely get the sense of both artists in here. Like, I can definitely hear both of their influences on the song.
Yes, exactly. I remember Garion talking about how most of his tracks were junk, but if this is his junk, then he's to really rethink himself, because this is a pretty good framework.
Yeah, definitely. I really like the build-up in the beginning there, too. I thought it went pretty well. And the ending part as well also really stuck out to me.
The chord progression is really, really great, especially towards the middling end, for me at least.
Mm-hmm.
And the only critique I have is that the organ at the beginning seems a bit dry for me,
Mm-hmm.
and the bass, or at least I think it's a bass, the doo-doo-doo
Yeah.
kind of buzzy
Yeah.
sound.
Yeah, definitely. It's like a
Yeah.
saw bass or something.
Yeah, it seems to be a bit too stereo-wide for me.
Oh.
Raw and buzzy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know if it is stereoized, but something about it seems a bit buzzy, and when it does those little trills, it distracts from the music and kind of makes a bit of a muddy mess, mastering-wise, I
Mhm.
think.
Yeah, and I
I don't disagree with that, and I can see why. Because in this case, they didn't get to work fully on it, and I can see where the time for mixing and mastering wouldn't have gone through.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is a really good product, and I implore you guys to keep on working on it. It sounds great.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I guess we'll just move on then, unless you guys had other thoughts.
I have one more thing, maybe?
Yeah, go ahead.
The ping, I guess it is. It's a ping, right? It's got a weird filter attack thing, but the filter also goes down at the amp, I should say. The
Mhm.
envelope goes down in a short decay, but the filter remains to go up, and I think you should probably turn off the filter envelope on that synth, but maybe that's just me.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you definitely know more about mixing synths and stuff than I do, so.
I know absolutely nothing compared to some of these other people.
Well,
Wow.
it's still more than me, so at least you have that. All right, I guess we're gonna move on then. So, this fourth track, I guess the review segment for it's gonna be a little bit different because it's actually an original track by myself, doing a bit of that self promotion.
Talk about bias.
I know, honestly, who is this guy? It was actually supposed to be a collaboration track for the compo, but my partner didn't have enough time to work on it, so I just repurposed this into an original tune. So yeah, it's 8-bit. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but if you want to give me tips, tricks, comments, be greatly appreciated. And
Why not?
Well, give you composition advice because I don't know how 8-bit mastering works.
it's
Probably does.
it's pretty similar to other mastering, to be honest, but anyways, yeah, I guess we'll just give this a listen here then. Cut.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Let's see. All right, did you make this directly from chiptunes, or did you make it like inside a DAW?
No, this was made. It was made in VRC6, which means it can run on NES. So.
Oh, you made it on Family Track.
Yeah, it's made in Family Tracker. Sorry if I didn't specify that.
Yeah, no,
So-
no big deal.
So yeah, it's yeah, it can be.
Alrighty.
All right. Now, I can't really remark on my own track, so what did you guys think of that?
Well, for the most part, I think the mixing was pretty great. The only constructive feedback I have so far, besides needing to use some stereo field depth, is around 123 in your piece. I think you were using a sine wave as a melody, correct?
123. I think I was actually using a triangle wave. It's sort of like a thing that's
Yeah, I get those two mixed up all the time.
Yeah, that's fine. It's not really common to do it like that, but it was sort of like an experiment I did with this track.
Yeah, if I remember using a 2A03 chip before, those do have a hard time sticking out from the rest of the mix. So I don't think necessarily you needed to use another sound, but if you could lower the rest of the volume from all the other chip sounds, then that would work out.
Yeah. The problem with the actually one of the problems with the triangle wave is that you can't actually edit the volume in any way, unless you're also editing the volume of like one of the drum lines as well. It's sort of a weird thing with the chip. I don't know. So yeah. What about you, Grin Fox? Do you have any criticisms?
It's hard to critique a piece that is so flawless.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
You really nitpicked all the bad stuff out. I usually have a lot of stuff to say, but nothing.
Well, geez, that's a great compliment, so thank you. I guess all sorry.
It's all good. Granted, I don't know much about chiptunes, so
I guess if I had to say something about my own track, I would definitely say I needed to beef up the low end a little bit. I think that's one thing that I would have liked to have done, but I ran out of room basically on the tracks, so.
Huh. Well, it's what is it? You could combine a sine and a pulse channel and a saw wave together, right, to make it more thicker?
Yeah. Yep. Most of the time people do that with like the triangle and the saw. It's usually what people use to get a thicker sounding bass, but since I was using the triangle as a melody that time around, I couldn't do that. So I don't know. That's right. Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to go through and try to rework some of this stuff in order to get the bass sounding better, but yeah.
Well, if you're gonna work on it more, I look forward to it, man.
Yeah, it's probably done for now, but yeah, I might return to it at some point, do a little bit of mastering, maybe put some stereo mixing on there so it's not in mono. I'm not sure yet. So
Sounds
yeah.
Good.
And with all that out of the way, I guess we're going to listen to our last track of the day, and our final track is actually going to be 2 Mints 1 Tonic, which is actually a collaboration song by you two. And,
hey.
I have listened to this song once before, but I'm going to listen to it again and just give you my thoughts. So, with all that out of the way, let's listen to this last track here. Once again, I guess I'll just give my thoughts here. I really loved that piece. When I first listened to it too on the podcast, or I mean your live stream or whatever, Link Waker, I thought it was great, honestly. And yeah, my opinion has not changed. Specifically, I guess the part around 1 minute in, there's this really nice chord progression and melody line that I just love that part specifically, I guess.
I have to attribute that to Grinfox right now, because I could not have done anything without that 30 seconds right after my... He did a real good job.
Thank you, man. Thank you, man.
It just sounded nice all around. I mean, I guess if I were to try and nitpick this, a few parts in the beginning might have been a little bit too loud leading into it. Just some minor mixing issues in certain parts, but other than that, the framework was really solid.
Appreciate that, man. And the mixing stuff, I might have to just say, because I was working on that stuff 2 hours after not doing mixing. Oh yeah.
Oh,
I definitely did.
Yeah.
So how long did? So you spent 2 hours mixing that afterwards? Is that what you said?
It was 2 hours working on the main melody and all the other stuff. And then once I finally got done with that, then the mixing happened, and I could tell that my ears were definitely shot after the day after.
Oh, I gotcha. Well, yeah, barring that, it sounded just great, I thought. It flowed really well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's when it transitions into the part after the breaks. This is the first I've heard of it. That transition is just superb. It's just it doesn't hit you with anything. It just lets you float through a cloud or something. I don't know.
Oh yeah, definitely. You think it's gonna go? Yeah, sorry. Continue.
Sorry. I feel like there might be a bit too much layered reverb, but either way, that's fine. It was a compo track, so I'm extremely happy with what little work I did and getting attributed all this. Oh man.
Well, despite what both of you did, I thought it sounded fantastic, and it's a pretty good way to close off this section. So, thanks for coming on today, guys. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having us, Atomic.
Yeah, of course. It's always great to have new people on. And I guess with that all the way, I'm just gonna close it off here. So that's gonna conclude the first section of today's podcast. If you would like to have any of your own tracks reviewed in future episodes, please check the description for more info. Now on to the interview section with Sophie.
Hello, you are currently listening to the BasilTonic podcast. On BasilTonic, we introduce some very talented up-and-coming artists. My name is Sophie, and on today's episode, I will be interviewing a very interesting composer who is proficient in the Marimba and currently studying audio production at Middle Tennessee State University. Josiah Edgar is an incredible artist, and I believe you will enjoy hearing what he has to say. You can find some of Josiah's music on SoundCloud under the username JetEdgarMusic, and if you want to stay posted on what he's doing, then you can follow him on Twitter under the same username. I hope you enjoy this episode, and thank you for listening. Well, first off, how are you doing today? How's your day been going so far?
It's been going great. It's one of those days where you get up in the morning, ready to get everything done, and then you push that away and decide it's better to relax for your own happiness. And you know what? Every now and then, that's a really good thing.
Yeah, it is. You need mental breaks every once in a while.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's the afternoon, right? It's 1 where you are.
Yep, it's right about 1 o'clock now.
Oh, very nice. So when we were setting up the interview, you mentioned that you were in the central time zone in the U.S. Where in the central time zone of the U.S. are you in right now?
I am right here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, just outside of Nashville, which is a great place to be as a music college student because when I get out of here, I will hopefully be able to find a job. And that's really promising.
Oh, okay, cool. So there's a pretty big music scene there. Do you run into a lot of artists and stuff?
Oh, this campus is flooded with it. My particular major, which is audio production, is very, very overflooded. There's so many people doing the same thing that I'm doing, which is really great because I have so many people I can talk to about setting up bands or getting recording sessions done. If I ever need advice, there's tons of people to talk to. It's really great. There's a great sense of music community here.
Okay, audio production.
That's right.
Why audio production?
Well, my main passion lies with composing, but the main reason I'm in audio production is because I wanted to learn as many technical skills as I could. Because just being a composer on its own usually isn't enough, I feel like, in this industry. It's sort of like you need to be able to have a lot of, like, a big variety of skills that you can offer people. So right now, I'm majoring in audio production and going to school for it because I want to learn all kinds of skills that'll let me get hired, mainly. But also, I do have an interest in this. I've actually done live sound for a good while. I did it for my church all throughout high school, which sparked an interest in that for me.
Ooh, your church. Like, what?
Yes.
Catholic or?
Oh, it's a non-denominational. It's a Gwinnett church back down in Georgia, which is actually where I'm from. I say that I'm here in Tennessee. I actually live in Suwanee, Georgia, which is not too far from Atlanta, but I'm currently here at Middle Tennessee State University because I was given a good scholarship to come here, and they have great, great things for what I'm interested in. Everything just seemed to work out.
Oh, nice. That's interesting. Georgia, does that have a pretty big music scene too, like specifically where you're from?
Atlanta has a growing music scene, I would say. It's not huge right now, but I think it's definitely on the rise. I'm not exactly sure where I'm going to be when I get out of college, but there's a possibility I might go back to Georgia. It really just depends on, what sort of opportunities I can find.
Yeah, okay. What made you pursue music then, if it's not, there's not like a huge music scene in Georgia?
Well, I got a lot of music inspiration mainly from my family at an early age. My mom and my dad both play piano, and my mom used to be part of a church choir, but neither of them actually have a career in music. The whole family has a big love for music. And growing up, we had a piano in my house, and what I would always do when I was a little kid is I would hear a song that I really liked and would try to figure it out by ear on the piano.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So, like, you'd hear a song on the radio or, like, the television, and you just start playing it?
More like I'd hear a song in a video game. That's where all my inspiration for music has come from my whole life.
Oh, so what was the first video game you remember playing?
I don't know Oh, that's tough. The first video game I just remember playing, I'd say it was Sly Cooper 2 on the PS2, I think.
Oh.
That was probably one of the earliest games.
I've never heard of that. What do you do in that game?
It's sort of like a stealth collectathon kind of game. Imagine you've got your Banjo-Kazooie, where you have this big overworld that you explore, and when you get to a certain area, you can enter in a mission, which, because this is you're playing as a raccoon with a thief's mask. He's very sneaky. And so a lot of these are about infiltration and taking out targets and stuff like that. And it's very cartoony and super funny, too.
Oh, that sounds fun. Can you play any songs from that game?
I should do that because the music is really good. I haven't listened to it in forever. I think the first game music that I learned how to play was probably just the Super Mario theme. I mean, you got to start with the classics. Yeah. I had a lot of inspiration drawn from Super Mario World, especially. I had that on Virtual Console on our Wii back at home, and I played the heck out of that game. I was in love with every bit of it.
That sounds adorable. How old were you when that game came out?
Oh, geez. Well, we weren't living in Georgia back when that came out, so I'd say I was probably in around second grade,
Oh, okay.
if I had to guess.
You sound really well traveled. Where were you originally from?
That's a good question. So nobody listening to this will know about the city, I'm sure. But I was born in a little town called Coffeyville, Kansas. Coffeyville.
Okay.
And me and both my siblings were all born there. And I lived there for most of my really early life. We lived next to a church that sort of gave us a home to live in next door. And then we moved to Oklahoma for into a little rental home. But then we actually lived in Tennessee, which is where I am now. Except we only lived there until I was I was at the beginning of my 4th grade year, I'd say, however old I was then. Then we moved to Georgia, which is where my family has lived ever since for over 10 years now.
That's awesome. I mean, out of the 3 places, I mean, which place would you say you like the most?
Well, I'd say it's definitely Georgia. The weather is a lot warmer. I hate being cold, and that's a big plus for me. But especially the area we lived in is very culturally and ethnically diverse, and that was really great. It's a very kind environment. Everybody there is really friendly.
Yeah, and that must be awesome for music, too. You must get a lot of influence from different
places. Oh, big time.
So you play the piano. Any
I
other
do.
instrument?
I have been in the band ever since 6th grade, all through middle and high school. And I was actually in the marching band all 4 years of high school as well. My main instrument I played was the marimba, which is a percussion instrument. I am a huge percussionist. So technically I play a lot of instruments.
Can you say that again? I've never heard of that instrument.
Marimba, yeah. So imagine a xylophone, but really big. Like really big.
Wow.
And normally you play a xylophone with like a mallet in each hand, right? And you would just hit all the keys. Mm-hmm. Well, when you get good at marimba, you actually play with 2 mallets in each hand.
Oh.
So I'm playing with 4 things at once. I was actually, that's basically my favorite instrument. So because of that, I was in the front ensemble and marching band. And actually, I ended up being section leader in my junior and senior years.
That's really cool. That's awesome. So you said it was really big. Was it really heavy?
Yeah, you can't pick this thing up. It's on wheels.
Oh.
It's humongous and costs thousands of dollars, for sure.
I can't even like picture. I'm gonna have to Google it after this.
Oh, please do, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so when was the earliest you started composing music?
Okay, so I'd say that I dabbled a little bit in GarageBand back on my old Mac, my family's Mac that we had, but I didn't really write anything significant until my junior year of high school. Mm-hmm. It was around this time that I was really, really starting to realize just how much I love video game soundtracks. That's my number one passion when it comes to music is soundtracks, for sure. Mm-hmm. And my junior year of high school, I got to take a course called Music Tech, where essentially you learned how to use just a DAW, digital audio workstation, and write music for the very first time. I went in there with no expectations of how I would enjoy it. I just thought, I need to try this out because it seems like something I would like. And then I fell head over heels in love.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, why did you pick the college that you're going to right now, or the school you're going to currently?
Well, number one, they're giving me lots of money, and that's a big incentive. Especially nowadays, college is expensive.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I've been fortunate enough to actually receive a full tuition scholarship. It's called the Buchanan Fellowship here at Middle Tennessee State.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I just have to focus on paying for meals and paying for room and board, and I'm pretty much good to go. I have to keep really good grades to keep this, though. And not only that, but anyone who gets this scholarship has a certain number of required courses that you cannot get out of. You must take them and do well in them just to keep the scholarship. So it's tough, but it was actually a blessing, not only financially, but also socially for me. Going to that college, I was originally doing it, and I was planning on doing it anyway, actually, even if I didn't get the scholarship, because they offered an audio production major, which is not even offered anywhere in Georgia. Nowhere.
Interesting.
Yeah. One of the great things I wasn't expecting from it, though, is once I arrived, me and everyone else who got this scholarship were put in a class together. So I instantly had a friend group of about 20 people who I would share classes with over and over again for the next couple of years.
Could you see yourself working with these people on future projects?
One of them in particular, yes. No, two in particular. There's someone I know who is not only just now dabbling in composing on his own, he's a jazz piano major and a really interesting guy who also does magic. So you know that he's a good person to bring to a party.
That sounds like a really cool person to bring to a party.
Yeah, and the other person is this one girl who happens to be my girlfriend now.
Aww. Love story.
Yep.
Aw, that's sweet. Okay, so what classes are you taking right now?
All right, so this is the most interesting part. So normally I had to mix between your normal gen eds that you have to get out of the way, and then maybe you'll get one or two fun classes for that particular semester. But starting this semester, all of my classes are in my major, and it is going to be a critical listening class, which I had to go out and buy a $300 pair of headphones for.
That's right. I remember seeing that.
It was nuts. And the stuff in this class is really insane. So there's mainly two kinds of ear training that you could think about. There's classical ear training, which is for recognizing a pitch, recognizing different kinds of harmony and chord progressions and all that stuff when you're listening to music. And then there's what I am being trained in, more on the tech side of things for audio producers, is technical ear training. So I'm actually listening mainly for frequencies. I found out that apparently we're just going to have to listen to pink noise, which is easily compared, you could say that like the way that waves sound when you hear them from a distance, that's sort of what pink noise sounds like. I'm going to listen to that and say, oh yeah, so at 10,000 hertz, they boosted it by about 6 decibels, which sounds crazy because it basically is. It's going to help me a lot to learn how people put together their mixes and stuff like that.
Yeah, that sounds... It sounds really engaging, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm just going to be in a classroom with headphones on, listening as intently as I can to the same thing over and over and over again until I understand what's going on.
Have you gotten those headphones yet?
Yeah! Oh my gosh, they're amazing. So they're Sennheiser HD 650s. They're open-backed, which essentially means that, you know how you've got the two ears of your headphones, and on the outsides of them, normally it's like a hard plastic cover. Well, for these headphones, it's just the open mesh of the speaker itself. So essentially, everyone around you can hear what you're listening to, but what it allows you to do is it replicates a really natural sense of reverb that you hear in everyday life. So you hear this music very, very accurately for what it is. Like, you start listening to music you've heard in other headphones before with these new ones, and you're starting to notice all the tiny little imperfections that you never would have heard otherwise.
Yeah, so do you find your music improving in quality because of these headphones? Because you can hear everything?
Oh, well, that's what I'm expecting to happen. I just got them, so I haven't been able to really produce with them quite yet.
Darn
but that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, I mean, they sound like they can really help you out. And
yeah, I'm going to be listening.
T-Mad said they works.
Yeah, of course. T-Mad's a genius. Shout out to him, by the way.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely expecting myself to be more critical than usual with my mixes because I will hear so much more.
Yeah, awesome. Backing track, just to backtrack a little bit. So, video games. That's your main inspiration. That's like what kind of got you starting. Who specifically, which composer specifically spoke out to you or like really got to you?
Yeah. So I think a lot of my inspiration came from a lot of early Nintendo games. So especially you've got your mainstream Nintendo composers, especially Koji Kondo, because he's a legend. I grew up with tons and tons and tons of Nintendo, so I've fallen in love with that energetic, catchy sort of video game music. Outside of Nintendo, I'd say probably there's a lot of stuff in the indie game scene that I fell in love with at an early age. I actually, of course, I'm a huge, huge fan of Jake Kaufman. This is a big reason why I'm here in this Discord in the first place. I first heard his work through Mighty Flip Champs back on the DSi, which at that point I didn't know it was him. It wasn't until I later played Shantae Risky's Revenge and saw his name in the credits that I Googled him and I found this out. And then suddenly it's like this guy who wrote the music to a bunch of games that I played in the past. And that was a really cool discovery.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I mean, that sounds really cool to find that out. Especially since he's so, not average, but he's just kind of like a normal guy who just
he's such a chill dude. And I never would have known that if I hadn't had a chance to chat with him on occasion.
Yeah. Okay, so have you had any classes in music theory so far?
Yeah, so a lot of my music theory knowledge mainly comes from being in band for so long. That's where I learned all the basics. But not only that, but my senior year of high school, I actually took an AP music theory course, which if you don't know, AP essentially means that it's like music theory 1 in college, but I'm taking it in high school.
Yeah.
And that was a game changer for me. I learned so much in that class that I didn't know before. And now I'd say that a lot of my music friends that I know here at Middle Tennessee State are really getting ahead of me in terms of their music theory knowledge, because I haven't actually been given any music theory courses ever since getting into college. All of my stuff has been on the tech side of things. So that's one area that I feel like I'm kind of lacking in, that I really would like to dedicate serious time to catch up.
Okay. And I mean, there's a lot of debate over it in our Discord, but you believe music theory is important, I assume. Right?
Oh yeah, I think it's paramount, and the reason for that is, although you can write music and write beautiful music at that with the very, very basic knowledge of music theory, I see music theory sort of like a tool that allows you to take anything you're writing to the next level. The more you understand what you are doing, the more that you can make more complicated and more sophisticated music. And not only that, music theory is unique in that it teaches you the rules, but it 100% doesn't need to be followed. You can break the rules anytime you want if you think something sounds cool, in my opinion. A lot of people will say that music theory kind of traps you, and it makes it so that you're not able to write the music you want to write because you feel like it has to fit these rules. You have to have a 1-4-5-1 chord progression and all of this stuff. And I don't really see it that way. I see it as a way to take your music up to the next level. It'll teach you exactly what to do, and then as soon as you don't like it, you can disregard it entirely and do what you like.
Yeah, okay. So it doesn't, it doesn't limit you, it's just, it helps you grow.
Yes, that's how I see it.
Okay. So what was the biggest project or song you have worked on?
That's tough. Actually, I think I know. So last year in a course called Digital Audio Technology, I was given an old video clip from an old Wallace and Gromit short, of all things. And I essentially redid all of the audio for the entire short. So we were given the video along with its original audio, and then essentially all they gave us were a bunch of sound effects and some dialogue clips that matched with what the person originally said, and everything past that was completely on us. We had to insert the music, we had to arrange all the sound effects and Foley work so that it sounded natural, like it was supposed to be in the video in the first place, so that when you eventually finished, you would play it back and nobody would know that anything was different. You'd hear all the catchy music in the background, you would hear all the, like this is a clip where there's like a penguin with a gun. It's kind of crazy, but like the penguin fires the gun, you hear a gunshot, and then you hear it ricochet off of something else, and all the little things like that. I had to do every little bit meticulously over and over again, and sometimes they gave us a big library of sound effects to work from, but there were some times where I couldn't find something that worked the way I wanted it to. Sometimes I would take a sound effect and I would really compress it down and throw some effects on it so I could get it to sound exactly the way I wanted it to.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a lot of fun.
How long did you have to work on that?
I'm not sure. I think it was about 2 weeks, I would say, through normal class time, which was about 3 times a week. And sometimes I would go into a lab somewhere with my Pro Tools file, and I would work on it on my own to make sure I could get in the detail.
I mean, were there moments where you were like, you would do something, because you said, you'd put a noise to something and it wouldn't work out. Did you have to like leave it and be like, all right, I'm going to look at that later with like a fresh...
Yeah, you have to really prioritize your time sometimes. Having a deadline just makes the creative process so difficult, I think. A lot of times I'll look back at, say, things that I composed for my music tech course back in high school. And for each of those, we had 2 weeks to write them, 10 days, 5 weekdays per week. And that was never enough time for me to fully realize everything I wanted to do with something. And so every time I look back at my high school works, I'm always finding things and I'm like, man, I would have totally added this if I was doing that today, or done this differently. And not having a huge amount of time to work on something really makes it hard for you to do your best work. Yeah. But if it's for school, you can cut yourself a little slack. It's not a real professional project.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. I mean it's good practice too if you do have to do that in a professional setting. So that was the biggest project you worked on. What was a project that you worked on that you just like really hated? It was tedious and you just didn't like doing it.
I know exactly what it is, like immediately. So similar, this is the same class actually. Sort of similar. We were given a video clip, and essentially we needed to take a song file just off of iTunes or whatever, and we had to take that and we had to line it up so that it matched thematically with the movie short that we had. So I took a song from the game Cuphead, which is an amazing soundtrack, by the way. I took the song High C Hijinks, which is super jazzy and upbeat, and tried to make it match. But the problem is, let's say that I want there to be a big hit at this one point in the movie because someone like takes a big hit. They like slap somebody, or someone comes bursting through a door, or some action-packed sequence like that. Right when they do that, I want there to be this big bam, like on the trumpet, or a big cymbal crash on the drums, or something like that. And the hardest part is that I just have one music file, just one audio file that, let's say I want it to do the big hit right here, but according to the tempo of the song, normally that big hit would come about a second before when I want that moment to be. So now I'm having to try and rearrange the song itself and chop it up so that I'm adding like an extra bar in the music somewhere randomly, just so that I can push over that moment a whole second so that it lines up with where I want it to be. So I would listen back to the whole project and the music would just sound so unnatural because I know what it originally sounded like, and I'm listening to it and I'm hearing some time where I did like the same 2 bars over and over and over just to like draw out as much time as possible. The hardest part for that was just listening to it and just knowing, oh, this all just sounds so wrong. Yeah. But I got a good grade on it, so I guess I can't be too mad.
How long did you have to work on that?
I think I had about a week.
Okay. That, because to me that sounds like you'd get an longer amount of time to work on that.
Yeah, I did a lot of work on it just on my own. That's one great thing about college. You go to class for not nearly as long as before, and what you do with your free time is basically up to you. If I didn't have a job, I would definitely be spending a whole lot more time just improving my skills on various things. But I at least have time to get extra work done on classwork whenever I feel the need for it.
That's very true. So we talked about work that you hated doing. We talked about the most difficult thing you had to do. What is a composition that you have done, or maybe a project you've worked on that you are the proudest of? Like you were like, oh yeah, this is good.
That's tough. So I've written a good number of songs here in college that I think I'm very, very proud of. I'm actually, and I've talked about this in the Discord a couple times, but essentially I'm trying to write an entire D&D campaign right now. That's something that me and my friends have been really getting into recently. And as a part of that, I'm trying to write my own musical soundtrack that will go along with the campaign. I'm writing stuff in the background, and some of that stuff I'm really proud of. If I had to pick one, Hey, Slip, you're going to have to cut this out. I'm thinking.
I mean, you can talk about all of it. You can...
I could, but whatever I talk about here, you're going to play it, right?
Yeah. Why is it late? Oh, you mean for the podcast?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember seeing in the questions, like, which one's your favorite? And then play it.
Yeah, we'll play the track indicated. Well, I kind of figured I would actually just make it a separate question.
Oh, okay, cool.
So then I'll just be like, what are you proudest of? And then I'd be like, so you're going to share
Can you show us something
today?
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. All right, so we're going back. Yeah, definitely what I'm most proud of is going to be my Dungeons and Dragons songs that I've written. I've written a good number of them now, and oh my gosh, there's some things that I just fall in love. Whenever you're writing music, you'll have those moments where you write something and you're like, this is pure genius. Like, how can you ever top this? And I've gotten that feeling multiple times doing...
That's good.
I'm actually planning to take a lot of it and make an album on Bandcamp soon with just a bunch of maybe mostly finished works, just to have something that people can look at and maybe gain an interest for me from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm definitely the most proud of that stuff.
Yeah. Josiah, do you stream or because I went onto your YouTube, you don't have any videos.
Yeah. 2 quick things. I know this is a little embarrassing. It's actually Josiah.
Josiah.
Yeah. No, you're okay.
You even
all you have to do is ask me that question again. Slip will cut out the first one, and no one will ever know.
That's okay. We'll leave it in. We'll make it like, Sophie's little mistake is still in there. It makes it more organic. You even sent me like a pronunciation thing. And I looked at it too, and I was like, I got this. Like,
it's okay. You know what I get most often? People always misread my name and say Joshua all the time. Oh. It's huge. You know what the worst way I've heard my name pronounced, though?
Yeah, what's the worst?
Josiah Ediger.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Actually, I never introduced myself at the beginning of this, did I? I don't think people know my name.
No, you didn't. Well, see, I pre-recorded the intro because I don't know why, but I get really nervous when I'm reading something and someone else is listening. I don't know if that makes sense. So
Well, I've got a Word doc next to me that I'm kind of reading off of for some of these questions.
Nice. Yeah, no, I have the same thing. I even have like added specific questions for you, so it's personalized for Josiah. You know, I say Hosiah because I went to Catholic school, and we used to say like Hosiah in the highest or something like that.
Yeah. I know, Sean. I'm also a Christian, so I get it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I just didn't want you to sit there and be like, "Wow, this girl's has no idea."
I'll pronounce it once. This is how it is. It's Josiah.
Josiah.
And it's an S, not a Z. Josiah. Josiah Edgar. That is my name. Hello. Yeah, it's cool.
Gosh. Wow, you get that a lot?
Oh, all the time. Yeah, I'm totally used to it. It doesn't bother me at all. Like, you're fine.
I mean, when you become famous, it will be a problem.
It will be a problem eventually. Maybe if I get around to making my own website, I'll have a thing at the front page in big bold font. It's Josiah. And then they'll never mess up my name again.
Wow, I feel like such a jerk now.
You don't have to.
I should have known. I should have been like, you know what? Maybe I'll ask him just in case. But nope, didn't dawn on me. Oh my god. So Josiah.
Yes.
Do you stream on Twitch?
No, but I should. It's something I've thought about for a long time. The main problem right now, and this is has been a recurring problem for me ever since I've gotten into college. I'm having to pursue my studies and becoming a good producer so much that I'm left between college and the job I have. It leaves me very, very little time to actually write music. Those Dungeons and Dragons songs I was mentioning before, I've written about 6 so far, and that started like my second semester of college. I'm currently in my 4th, by the way. This is my 2nd year.
Okay.
But one big struggle I've learned is that in order to pursue these technical talents and learning all of these audio production skills has made me need to sacrifice a lot of my composition and music theory knowledge pursuits. It's sort of been a trade-off.
Yeah.
But if I was writing more and I could stream it on Twitch, I 100% would. I would be all for that. I'm thinking about making a big change pretty soon. I'm trying to put stuff on Bandcamp. I'm thinking about starting to upload things on my YouTube, which is currently blank, but hopefully it will be full of many, many beautiful pieces very soon.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I've got to learn to put myself out there more. I'm not a very good bragger or promoter for myself. That feels really selfish of me when I do stuff like that. I don't like going on social media and stuff like that and be like, hey, check it out. I wrote a song and you should go buy it.
Why do you think that is? I mean, I noticed that a lot, especially on our Discord. I noticed a lot of people are like, here's this song they spent like forever composing. It's totally awful. Nobody listens to it. Oh my God. And I'm like, okay.
I think it's half between trying to stay humble and not looking like a jerk. Yeah. And at the same time, everyone is nervous about the things they create. Everyone feels super self-conscious about that stuff. So it's so hard to like pump up what you're about to show them. It's so much easier just to say, oh, it's not getting me any good, but which in the end isn't good for anybody. But I've really got to work on that. I think the best thing to do would just be to say, hey, here's something that I've written and I'm really proud of it. I spent lots of time on it and I would love it if you would give some of your time to check it out.
Yeah.
Like something as simple as that.
Yeah. So talking about like people being a little insecure about certain things and new artists, we have new composers on our Discord all the time. Mm-hmm. Let's say there was an up and coming artist or a composer, someone who just decided, like, I want to compose music, what would you give them as advice?
My advice would be search out as much knowledge as you can. Try to learn as much as you can. There's so many things on the internet. Especially find groups of people who are doing the same things as you and ask them for advice, because you won't believe just how much you can benefit from joining some sort of a community and just asking all the pros, tell me everything you know, because a lot of them are really nice and they would love to help you out. Mm-hmm. Don't be insecure about the stuff you're writing. I would say write something, and if you hate it, keep writing it till you think it's done, because the creative process will never go smoothly if you give up on something because it doesn't sound good at first. Don't overwork your stuff. Like, don't do something for 12 years just because you feel like it's not perfect. But at the same time, you can't just write music whenever you're in the mood to do so. You have to do it on your good days and your bad days. Yeah. Like, otherwise, you'll never really get into the level of talent that you're really searching for.
Yeah. And do you think as a composer and composers in general, do you think they ever reach the height of their talent? I mean, it would be they wouldn't have much of a goal if they got there and they were like, okay,
right.
That's
it. That's a really interesting question. It's sort of like going through all the levels of Super Saiyan. Like, you can't ever stop getting stronger.
I mean, I guess what I'm trying to ask is, do you want to reach that? Like, super max Super Saiyan?
That'd be a nice benefit, but it's not my main objective. My main objective is just, I want to create something that makes me happy and create something that makes other people happy. There's a lot of emotion in music.
Yeah.
That allows you to... that's fine. A lot of music just has to do with emotion, and I think that so many people are drawn to it because it allows them to express so many different feelings. You can write a song that makes people feel certain ways. You can write a song that makes people feel sad, a song that makes people feel like they need to take action against something, all sorts of stuff. And I think one thing that a lot of musicians share is the desire to make music that makes people feel the emotions that they're trying to convey through their song.
Mm-hmm. When was the first time you made a song like that? Throw that one at you.
No, it's fine. A lot of the songs I've written have just been through school assignments because of how little free time I have. So usually I don't really get to choose what sort of feeling I'm supposed to go for. Usually I'm told. And this is something for anyone in the soundtrack industry. They'll say, hey, here's my game or my movie that I'm making, and you need to have this happen here, and this is what I want you to make it feel like. And then sometimes they'll like send you a song and say, make it sound like this song. So you're given a lot of requirements whenever you have to write song, for sure. If I had to pick a song that I feel like there's a lot of emotion in, there was a song I wrote in high school once called Only I Know that I collaborated with one other student. And essentially it's about a guy who, and this is a super dark, but he catches some dude making advances on his wife, shoots the dude, and then he's on the run from the police. It's kind of crazy. But I put a lot of really sad tones throughout the thing. At one point he actually gets shot by the police. I threw in a police gun, just firing sound effect. Yeah. It was a lot of fun. That's definitely the first song I think that I was just all in on. Can I get someone to really feel the emotion of this person I'm telling the life of?
Yeah. This is where I'm going to ask a dumb question. There was someone singing, right? Like, or was it like you made a story out of just...
Yeah, I have to sing on a lot of stuff. And it's super hard to be comfortable with your own... Man.
I didn't know that you sang. Let's talk about this. When did you start singing?
I've never taken lessons or anything for singing. It's just, it was something that I had to do for certain assignments, and I think I have a decent voice. I sing a lot at church and all of that, so that's kind of helped work out my voice.
I mean, it's so hard to do that. I totally understand, because you really are putting yourself out there when you're singing.
Yeah,
which is why
but at the same time
that you do it.
Okay, here's how I feel about singing. So it's something that you get really nervous about, especially when you're with other people that you don't know that well. But at the same time, there's so much joy that can come from singing. I am 24/7. I am singing, I am humming, I am whistling. I'm doing something along those lines, basically my whole life. And I get a lot of joy from that. I'm the kind of person who in the car is drumming on the wheel, singing at the top of their lungs. That's me, just to let you know. And it's the hardest part about singing to remember. And yeah, I totally get that. The hardest part about singing is learning to just enjoy the act of singing and care less about how you sound. Unless you're doing it for professional reasons, of course. But
really great way to put that. Because I'm always thinking about how I sound.
I mean, it's hard not to be self-conscious about it.
Yeah.
I agree. It's good to look past that, though, and just to understand this is something that is fun to do, and I'm doing it because I get a lot of joy from it.
Yeah, that's nice. Okay, so you sing, you play the piano.
I do, yep.
You play an instrument that I completely... What was the name of it again?
It's a marimba. Marimba. Marimba.
Marimba.
Yep. Not too far off from the vibraphone. There's another one.
What is the origins of this instrument?
I think it's an African instrument.
Marimba.
I believe.
Nice. Do you have one with you?
You know, I would totally drop a few $1,000s and get one, but unfortunately, I don't have that kind of money. I'd love to have a marimba someday. I know, isn't there somebody in the mint potion community who plays marimba? He sings too. He was on the show.
Tommy.
Maybe? I think that might be him. I'm having trouble remembering faces and names. That sounds kind of right.
Because he was there before I got there.
Yeah, he participated in the cooking segments.
Yeah.
I believe.
Oh my god. Oh, this podcast is gonna make me seem like I don't know people's names.
I mean, it's just as bad for me, so no worries there. I believe he's actually, I believe he's a marimbist, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
And
cool.
Which is really great. I'd say that my talents as a marimbist are so-so, but you know.
Sorry, totally interrupted you.
No. What'd you say?
I just where did you stumble upon this instrument? Why?
Well, at first I thought drums were really cool. So I told people in 6th grade I was going to do percussion because I could play drum set. And today I play 0% drum set because I suck at it. I mean, like any other percussionist out there.
I know what you mean, though.
I love...
yeah. Sorry. Keep saying
No, you're fine.
That's what keep interrupting each other. No,
this is classic.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, no, I was gonna say, when I first saw, drums, I was like, oh, those gotta be easy. And then someone was teaching me how to play them, and I was like, you know what? No, that's okay, it's not for me.
Yeah, the amount of coordination needed is insane. I think I would love to get into drums nowadays, but back when I was a kid, I told myself, oh, I'm gonna do that percussion because that's drums. And so I walk in and we're sitting here with a drum pad, not even actual drum. Just a little thing you can hit drumsticks on, going 8 strokes on the right hand and 8 strokes on the left hand, just back and forth, 8 on a hand. And they just develop your wrist muscles and make sure that you can get everything good rhythmically, that you get a real sense of rhythm. And then they let you play the fun stuff, but you never actually play drum set as a percussionist, not at least in my school. It's a lot more single drums, like a snare drum and a bass drum, and then there's timpani and all the mouth instruments, and then all the little weird doodads that everyone loves to play and mess around with. My particular favorite is the slapstick, because who doesn't want to play Sleigh Ride, where it goes dun 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 dun, like, you know that part? That was me in high school. I was the slapstick. It's the best.
But you don't even need a drum set. You just did that.
No.
Right now.
Heck yeah.
What are some of the songs you sing in church? Do you remember any of them?
Just the worship songs. There's let me see. I think my personal favorite's probably the one that goes, "Bless the Lord, soul, oh my soul." Do you know that one?
Oh, but that one sounds like so much nicer than the songs I sang.
Yeah, my church that I go to is non-denominational, as I said before.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the songs they play, it's just you've got a nice big band on the stage, and it's not the kind of church that has like a choir. It's more like drum set, electric and bass guitar, and then like 5 singers. It's pretty sick.
It's like an orchestra.
It's more like a Christian rock band.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Actually, I hear that a lot with a lot of musicians. They tend to start out in churches or like a place of worship, because I know Jake like acquired some of his skills in temple. He used to play like the drums and stuff.
Yeah.
Did you ever go to like music camps or anything like that as a kid, or?
Not really.
Yeah.
That wasn't really a thing for me. It was mainly just playing piano at home, doing whatever music stuff I had to at school. And I'll be honest, I got into music because I thought I enjoyed it at first. And then as I got into high school, I got really lazy, just like any other high school student does. And it hasn't been until like I got into college that I just rekindled the spark of music. I was getting all that passion back that I remembered experiencing when I first started, and it's been driving me forward ever since.
Yeah, that sounds cool. It's nice when someone finds their passion. It's nice because you got so many people in the world who just don't know what they want to do, and it's refreshing to find someone who kind of just figures it out. My goodness, I think I'm all out of questions.
Well, that's okay.
You know what? Actually, maybe I do have a question. Do you have any interesting band stories?
Not really. I'm kind of a lone wolf, if I had to be honest. I have some close friends who are in bands, though, for sure.
Okay.
One cool thing, I suppose, that happened back in high school, and this wasn't necessarily a band, but in my band class, me and a lot of our percussionists got together. One of us wrote an arrangement to Carol of the Bells and just completely did it on our own. We met outside of normal school hours to practice it, and we got to play it at an official concert, and that was fun.
Wow. So, like, did you just tell your, like, teacher, whoever was organizing it, like, we're just gonna do this?
I wasn't the main organizer. I joined in, but essentially we would meet in the band room right after school got out, and we could practice for like an hour or so before the teacher had to leave, and we just did that.
Oh, and you did this with your marimba or bell ringing?
On this one, I actually played chimes, which is a blast. The main person who organized it was the drum set player, because drum set players, they're crazy. But this one in particular is probably the craziest drum player I've ever met. I have no doubts in my mind that he can make it real big. Why is he crazy? He just has this kind of energy that, he's the kind of guy who will just say, hey, in the middle of this, we're going to break out into a dance, and then we're going to take that and we're going to start doing this giant dance routine in the middle of the show, because why not? That's the kind of guy he is. Very, very energetic. He can barely ever stop playing the drum set. It's kind of ridiculous. Very talented, too, actually. He became drum major his senior year in high school.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds super nerdy that I say that, but yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I've never been in a marching band. Do you guys, you wear uniforms?
Yeah. We had a nice uniform. We don't have the really big poofy stuff. really, but it was like a red and black uniform with a bunch of sequins on it, so we were super sparkly. I'm really thankful about one thing in particular, and that's that I didn't have to wear the hat, because I'm in the front ensemble and we didn't have to wear this plastic hat with a big black feather on the top. I was not a fan.
I was actually going to ask about that. I was like, does your uniform change according to like instrument or row?
Oh man, I would love it if that was the case. Unfortunately not. At least I don't have to march around the ensemble. You're just standing there at your instrument. You're in front of everybody else. You're not moving around the field. You're just right there at the edge of the field. Like first people that the crowd sees.
That's cool. Actually, that sounds really scary. I think I'd be really intimidated, but at the same time, you're like part of a sea of people, so it's not like they're just staring at you. So,
I mean, we're pretty well separated, so you don't exactly get lost in the sea of people. As a matter of fact, although a lot of the theatrics of marching comes through how the people are marching and all the formations they do, they make like pictures or just some sort of a pattern. They're walking like through big groups of people, and somehow none of them hit each other. When you're in the front ensemble, a lot of the theatrics come through motions that you do while you play. And when you're the section leader especially, everyone is in sync with you, and you have to keep an eye on everybody and make sure you give little tiny signals that no one else can notice to make sure that everybody's on time and is doing all the motions correctly and all that stuff.
yeah.
And you get to come up with a lot of motions, whenever you're the section leader. We did a lot of really crazy stuff. At one point, I remember this specifically, we used to do a little show tune as soon as the actual show was done, because we were the bulldogs, so we'd play like a little go dog sort of thing once the show was over. And during that part, I remember at one specific point, everybody just broke out dancing, and it was the best. And I mean everybody in the section, like we had it planned, like to do this crazy dance just all at once, out of nowhere. Nobody's going to expect it. It was completely choreographed, and I remember that the first time we did it, nobody in the crowd obviously knew what was going on. So they saw that and just went wild. It was an amazing experience.
Oh, that's so cool. I'm really jealous. That sounds like a lot of fun.
The funnest part about marching band is the community, for sure.
You're still in contact with some of them, and
Oh yeah, nearly all of them. And the reason for that is I have a younger brother who has followed in my footsteps with marching band. He plays the same things I do. He's also a section leader now. And essentially, there was one year where my brother was a freshman, I was a junior, and that was my first year where I was section leader. So here comes my brother and all of his friends, and I am their evil overlord. So that was awesome.
Power.
Yeah, so I'm good friends with a lot of people because of that.
I mean, you said he's following in your footsteps. Does he want to do music as well?
He's actually, he's thinking about coming here to MTS to do audio production, the same as I am. I think he's got different plans. He's kind of quiet about this sort of stuff, but sounds like he's interested in maybe opening his own studio.
Oh, cool. Big dreams. Good
Oh,
dreams. Yeah. Gosh, I think that's it. I think that's all I have to ask you. It feels like it's been forever. I feel like we've been talking for a while. Not that like in a tedious way, but like I feel like we had a really good flow.
Yeah, I think so too.
Oh, you know what? So we talked about, completely forgot, like literally the main point of this whole interview. So we talked about the music you're proudest of. Is that the same music that we're going to be playing in the podcast?
Yeah, the song that I've chosen to play is one that I've written for really proud of, but I gotta set the stage first.
Okay.
So basically you're going through sort of a mechanized dungeon, and I'm basically combining robots and music into my campaign. That is the campaign. It's kind of crazy.
Look at
so
me, I'm interested now.
Now, this is a bit of a vague reference, maybe for some, but in Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door, if anyone has ever played that game, there is a boss called Hooktail, who, when you fight him, you can actually make him a lot weaker than he usually is if you find a secret item that plays the sound of a cricket. Because there's some lore like, oh, he ate a cricket and got food indigestion and something like that. He's a big dragon dude. Mm-hmm. And similar to that, I've got this idea where this person is going to be a huge fan of electronic music and the big bad bosses. And by finding a secret little jazz instrument, you can weaken him in the final fight. And the way to obtain that is by fighting what I have dubbed the Jazzy Skeleton. I'm taking big inspiration from Crypt of the Necrodancer more than anything else for this campaign, because I mean, I was in the middle of building this right about the time that I started getting into that game. And so yeah, this is going to be my Jazzy Skeleton, and I hope you all enjoy.
So,
What'd you think?
I mean, when I listened to it, all I could think of is that this sounded like a Jazzy Skeleton.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. I was just picturing a skeleton playing the music, but like with his bones, you know?
Yeah, exactly. That's actually pretty much what I'll like right there.
Yeah.
Essentially, I was thinking, I'm like imagining this like weird dancing skeleton with like sunglasses on, like doing a little slidey dance as he approaches you.
Yeah,
He's jamming out
like
the whole
black
time.
Hat, you know?
Oh yes, that would be perfect.
Yeah, like
I'm gonna have to remember this. Hello. Excuse me, I can't speak. I'm eventually going to make little pixel art of this enemy. I'm doing that as a part of the Dungeons and Dragons campaign. And yeah, what you're saying now could end up being part of the Jazzy Skeleton. Give me recommendations for what you want to look like in the comments or something like that.
Yeah, I liked the feeling. It's funny because you talked about how music makes you feel.
Mm-hmm.
It gave me a very fun and like jolly feeling, but I think, like, most importantly, it put that image of a skeleton in my head. And, like, that's pretty rare. You know, like, you aren't showing me a video. It's just music.
Yeah. I mean, you get an idea and you try your best to make it sound like what you have in your head.
Yeah, that's really cool. You have a talent, sir.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think one of the main reasons that sometimes I'll get really critical of stuff I've written is because it's hard for me to make it sound good, especially with just basic instrument patches and whatnot. Like, I'll have a piano that doesn't sound as good as, like, recording an actual piano would be and stuff like that. But I'm always in love with melodies and harmonies that I can put into stuff. Usually if I remember just, like, the core song itself, you like that. Don't forget that even though it sounds like junk because you're using crappy stuff to make this music, it's still a good song. That's, like, the hardest part for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like it's difficult. But has it ever held you back, do you think?
Being overcritical about it?
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's ever made me hold back, it's just being able to share music with people. That's a struggle that I think I'm always going to face, and I think that's a struggle a lot of new face as well. So if we were going back to like things I'd tell people new to the industry, just don't be afraid to get your stuff out there, because even though it may not be as good as what you want it to be, it's only going to get better. So every time you show something to somebody, just keep in mind that it's probably better than the one that you showed them last week. So they're only going to like your stuff more and more. And you know what? You'll hear all the little mistakes in what you've written, but the people listening to it probably won't. They're going to get an overall feeling for just what the song carries, what sort of emotions it had. And that's the most important part of music, I think. I think it's really fun to do all the intricacies and whatnot that maybe only you really notice as the person who wrote it. But if you can get someone to enjoy your music, then I think you've made it.
Yeah. Well, on that incredibly inspirational note, I think we're good. I think we're done with the interview. Do you have anything you want to add?
Follow your dreams, I guess. It's great. Just learn how to have fun with what you're doing and don't ever give up. Yeah. There's lots of things online that can help you out. Just keep on pushing and you'll make it through.
Are you going to send your brother's interview? Are you going to send him a link to it?
Oh, of course. My whole family's going to want to listen to this, I guarantee it. I just dropped the bomb on them about this a couple of days ago.
Well, say hi. Say hi to your mom.
Yeah. Hi, Mom. Hey, Dad. Hey, Micah. Hey, Emery. Good to see you all.
Oh. Okay. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the interview. It has been incredibly awesome and very informative.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This has been great. It's good to talk about just how life is going and what it's like to struggle and keep pushing anyway.
Yeah, and I got to learn so much about you. I was on here, I'm like, ugh, I know Josiah. I know Josiah. But then I found out that I did not know you that well until now. So
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. It was a great time.
Thanks once again to Sophie for managing the interview section, and thanks to JosiahMusic for coming on the show. Anyways, that's going to conclude episode 2, but before I take off, I would just like to give some plugs to everyone featured today on the podcast. Dewey Newts can be found both on SoundCloud and YouTube under his name. Jamathy can be found on SoundCloud under the name Jamathy. Grinfox can be found both on SoundCloud and Bandcamp under his name. Linkwaker can be found both on YouTube and SoundCloud under the name Rashinamu. Hope I pronounced that right. I, of course, can be found both on YouTube and SoundCloud under my name, Atomic Melodies. And finally, JosiahMusic can be found on YouTube under his name, and can be found both on SoundCloud and Twitter under the name Yadiger Music. Once again, thank you to everyone who helps to continue to make this idea a reality. All links to everyone will be available in the description of the video as well, and please make sure to check those out. Thanks for listening, and I hope to catch you 2 weeks from now.